After a fiery entree to the main course, we're at the first final. Points from the first heat decide the grid for this final. Championship leader Jamie Jenkins, on the back of a heat win, starts on the front row with pole man Kieran McCullough, Dan Butler, Anthony Teal on the second row, Stu Simons, Chris Powell on the third. Craddock manages to get onto the fourth row with Brian Trott. Enough of that, you can hear the revs rise. Kieran McCullough is bringing through the train. Jamie Jenkins on his outside. It's go, charging down to turn one. McCullough, Butler trying to get second. He's on Kieran McCullough's bumper. He'll get second into turn two. Chris Bell on the grass in the background. Butler trying to get second. Jenkins trying to go around the outside. He's trying to hang on. He's failed. Simons is through to third, but he's pushed wide by Anthony Teal and Chris Powell. McCullough leads from Butler, Jenkins, Anthony Teal, Chris Powell, Stu Simons, Charlie Bruce White. Oh, he's sideways under braking. Collects Stu Simons and Mark Craddock. Now, did he lose it on his own or was he pushed? End of lap one. Kieran McCullough ahead of Dan Butler, Jamie Jenkins, Anthony Teal, Chris Powell. Gap to Ingram and Darren Teal. Gap to Loughcombe. Trott and the rest of the field coming through. On to lap two, we have a leading quintet and then a gap of a second and a half to Ingram, Darren Teal, Mark Loughcombe, Brian Trott. Contrasting lines through turn four. Jenkins on the bumper of Dan Butler. Everybody just beginning to figure out how much pace their kart has and how much pace they have in themselves. Well, Jenkins is looking very racy in third. But watch out for Anthony Teal. Butler up the inside of McCullough. Now that's going to back Kieran McCullough up. So it's side by side across start finish. Butler's got the lead temporarily. Jenkins looking for a way by. And here comes Anthony Teal. Oh, this is getting busy. Teal was over the curbs on the inside there. That's forced Kieran McCullough down the field and he might lose out to Chris Powell. He has. Powell is through to fourth. Kieran McCullough was leading. Now he's fifth. So the pole man has lost ground, but there's plenty of time in this 15-lap final. I don't think Butler's got the fastest kart. So Jamie Jenkins looking for a way by as Chris Powell's up the inside of Anthony Teal at the hairpin. Side by side. Yep, they've fought it out fairly. McCullough's gone through to fourth. And here comes Phil Ingram. How quickly he's been able to close it down. And Anthony Teal is out. I think he's lost a chain. He's definitely down on power. So Dan Butler under pressure from Jamie Jenkins for the lead in the first final. Well, we've lost Anthony Teal. Ingram's joined the group. In terms of the championship, this looks pretty good for Jamie Jenkins right now, with Kieran McCullough regaining some ground on Chris Powell. Down to turn one again. Jamie in position to strike. Dan goes narrow. Powell beginning to close, and he's towing with him. Kieran McCullough, here comes Jamie Jenkins inside at turn two. It's been coming for about half a lap. No complaints from Dan Butler. Jamie compromised into turn four though. Now looking for support. Clearly hopes to pull away with Dan Butler, then sort it out at the end. Confident that he's probably got the legs on Dan already, but not on Chris Powell. He's beginning to close on Butler. Kieran McCullough is not far away either. And don't discount the reigning champion Phil Ingram in fifth. Further back, it's still knockabout. Trott and Clackett through the final corner. Well, the race has settled down into a rhythm at last, or at least for the leaders. Battle for ninth. Trott holding off Lee Clackett, Parnby in a jar and Chris Bell. Manages it out of turn 3. And here comes Najjar up the inside of Clackett. Oh, we've missed it off camera. Lee Clackett is out. Not happy. He never is. Up front, Jenkins has pulled out half a second. Bell now trying to get past Najjar. And Powell's trying to go up the inside of Dan Butler. Has he got it done? He got it half done out of turn 1. He's got it done by turn 2, and here comes Kieran McCullough. McCullough through on his bumper. Dan Butler goes from 2nd to 4th in 2 corners, and McCullough's gone for 2nd, and Butler's coming back. Butler now looking to the inside of turn 5. It's not there. Phil Ingram moves onto the bumper of Chris Powell, who's forced to defend, and that's allowing Mark Loughcombe to close in behind. Loughcombe in 6th. Ingram inside of Powell at the hairpin. Can he make it stick? He runs wide. That rather guarantees it. Well, this first final has come alive. Powell looking to the inside of Ingram. He's got the beans. He's through. And on cue, Kieran McCullough's put his foot down to take advantage. He's pulling Dan Butler away from Powell, Ingram and Loughcombe. And Dan Butler's not looking quite like the spent force he was. Happy to be where he was. He may yet put McCullough under pressure. No doubt Phil Ingram's going to put the pressure on Chris Powell. Loughcombe still showing well in 6th place. Right now Jamie Jenkins has got a 1.65 second lead and is looking comfortable for the win, but we've still got 7 laps to go. Plenty of time for Kieran McCullough, Dan Butler, Chris Powell, Phil Ingram, Mark Loughcombe to run him down. It's a lonely race in 7th for Darren Teal, but I think he'd settle for that. I think everybody would settle for a lonely race for Andy Cowell in 8th. Battle for 10th here. Brian Trott, Parnby in a jar, Carl Tebbett. Bell pulling a couple of kart lengths. Up front, Jamie Jenkins has pulled out another 2 tenths on Kieran McCullough. Oh, but here comes Chris Powell. Butler forced to go defensive. Must have made a mistake in the final corner. It's gone so narrow into turn 1. That's sure to let Chris Powell through at turn 2, and it has. Oh, but Butler tries to cut back. Can he get it done? He's trying. He needs to tip it over the top here. I don't think it's going to work. Phil Ingram on his bumper of Chris Powell. Will he do the pair of them down to turn 5? No, it's side by side with Butler for 4th, and he's got it. Loughcombe picks up 5th. Well, we get used to the new positions now. Things settle down again. Najjar and Tebbett clash over Trott. Now Ingram has to think his way past Chris Powell. Jenkins, nearly 2.5 seconds ahead now of Kieran McCullough, who himself is more than a second and a half ahead of Chris Powell. Najjar at the moment has the ascendancy in the battle for 10th. Trott unable to get rid of Carl Tebbit, and Oliver Allwood is closed in. Trott appears to be struggling for pace. The leaders are already through start-finish. 3 laps to go. Tebbit lining up Brian Trott for turn 1. Is he close enough? He is. He's through. Will Tebbit be able to hold on? Trott looking over his shoulder suggests he's on his limit already. Allwood closing in. And he's coming through at turn 4. Trott would appear to have a problem. There has been some question about brake performance. Perhaps he's run out of brakes late in this final. Into the closing stages now. Jamie Jenkins still has 2.3 seconds ahead of Kieran McCullough, who himself is still over a second ahead of Chris Powell. I think the top 3 is pretty settled. Ingram, though, is still not comfortably ahead of Mark Loucombe. And Andy Cowell is coming under pressure from Chris Bell in the battle for 8th. Will there be time? Just over a lap to go. Jenkins has just moved away a fraction. Very comfortable. Final lap board for Jamie Jenkins. Kieran McCullough looks to cert for second, barring some kind of technical problem. Chris Powell will be third. Ingram is holding Mark Loucombe. Butler's hanging on. Darren Teal is comfortable in 7th. But Andy Cowell under pressure from Chris Bell. Tebbit ahead of Najjar in the fight for 10th. Will Andy Cowell hang on to 8th? Is there some fireworks left in this final? It's going to be a comfortable win for Jamie Jenkins. Good championship points all round here for McCullough, Powell and Ingram, who hangs on ahead of Loucombe.